Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone in the European side. I hope you are all in good health and have a productive day. My name is Dr. Tata Broto Sudarmo. I'm honored to welcome you all together with my colleague, Leonie Nagarajan. We serve as the EURAXESS Worldwide Representative for ASEAN region. So we want to extend a warm greeting to all of you, researchers and scholars joining us from across our vibrant ASEAN region and also beyond. Welcome to ASEAN Webinar ERC Grant Schemes. We are honored to introduce our distinguished speakers today. We have Mr. Benjamin Pelletier. He is a project advisor at the European Research Council, ERC. He is an expert in social, economic, and also cultural rights with extensive experience in Southeast Asia. His work spans issues like dam impacts and social laws, working with organizations such as the ASEAN Development Bank, UNDP, and the EU. And then we have Professor Nguyen, a renowned social anthropologist at the Bielefeld University in Germany, a recipient of two ERC grants, ERC Starting Grant for Warfare Struggles and ERC Consolidator Grant for Financial Lives. So today's sessions promises to be exciting, insightful, and inspiring, especially for those seeking opportunities to conduct excellent research with ERC support. So now I will hand over to my colleague Leonie to guide us through today's sessions. Leonie, please.
Thank you, Tatas. So we will start with Benjamin, who will give us an expert presentation. Sorry, Benjamin, I just see it says Mrs. Benjamin, but obviously that is an inadvertent typo. He will give us an expert presentation on the ERC grants. So if you have questions, technical questions, questions linked to the application process, and the various grant schemes, please do so, put them in the chat. We have allocated 20 minutes afterwards for Benjamin to respond to you. And afterwards, Professor Minh will follow, and she will share really her experiences from the beginning to, well, the end in a sense, because the starting grant, she has already worked on that, but she is now working on a consolidator grant as well. So she will share with you her experiences on her application process, ongoing work, and also what kind of opportunities there are when you have been a recipient of this grant. So for this also, as you can see, we have sufficient time. So use this webinar to ask in-depth questions, technical questions, personal questions, also to Professor Minh for tips and advice along the way. And then at the end, we will close and with a little outlook for our upcoming activities. So Benjamin, I think I can hand over now to you. I'll stop sharing and we look forward to your presentation.
Yes, thank you everybody. Thank you for inviting me. I'm quite impressed by the audience. Very well done. Even people from Nigeria. So I think Southeast Asia is bigger than I thought, but that's always nice and welcome to see people from all over the world. And it's actually what ERC is about. We're trying to not care about where people are located, but more care about what people research, and this is really good to see that that some people are from all over the world, and I see even from Belgium. So good morning and good afternoon for everybody. So can you just confirm you see my slides, because there was a...
Yes, we can see your slides, Benjamin, but there's still this gray bar which we had before as well.
Okay, let me try to do this and that, and then it should be good.
Yes, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So let's go for what ERC is about. If my slide want to move, yes, no. All right. Sorry for that. I don't know what is happening. It was working 5 minutes ago. Always like that. Okay. Do you see my slide now? You're muted, Leonie.
We can see it, but it is in a, I think, from your, we see your back.
Okay, all right, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to go into the slide sharing mode. Otherwise, if there's technical issues, I can also share from my side.
Now I should be
Yeah,
okay, I hope.
perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's a good start. So what I will be talking about today is, generally speaking, what is ERC, European Research Council. I will guide you through all the different kind of grants, and then I will try to focus on some advice to how to apply. And finally, I wanted to finish this by something that is not very much known, which we call implementing arrangements, which are, you will see at the end of the presentation, it's like kind of a cooperation agreement with some research organization in Southeast Asia, but in worldwide. And so this doesn't require to have a grant. So I think that could be of interest. So let's start by what ERC is about. So I will fly through many slides that are very dense in information, but I will try to just point out where is the most interesting part. So you know, the European Commission is financing research through the Horizon Europe program here, and ERC is in the first pillar, excellent science, and our total budget is 16 billion, which is one of the biggest part of the Horizon Europe budget. So the particularity of ERC is that we are part of the Commission. There's a dedicated agency who runs the show, but we are governed by a group of scientists. So we are part of the Commission, but we are kind of autonomous. And this is really to make a statement and to show that our nature is that we are working for scientists, by scientists, with scientists. So you can see our president here, Maria Leptin here. And so this is all, I will not go through, don't worry, all the profile of everybody, but it's just to show you that we have many different kind of disciplines that are represented in the Research Council. So if one day you come by Brussels, my office is here. So you are very much welcome to visit us if you want. So as I said, we are governed by 22 members of scientific council, and then I am part of the executive agency who is actually taking care of the grants, so selecting the best proposal, but also then monitoring the projects when they are financed. And if I want to give the main characteristic of ERC, what you should know about is that we have only one selection criteria. I will come back to it, is excellence. We support scientists as an individual level. So we are not supporting our institution, group of people, or we are focusing on one individual scientist. And what is really particular to ERC and what is our main strength, I would say, is that we are completely bottom up. If you look at all the other program of Horizon Europe, there are some priorities and subject and themes that are set by the European Commission. But for us in ERC, we don't set any priorities, any topic, anything. We believe that scientists know what are the most promising topic in the field. So we let scientists propose what they believe that is important and excellent. And then we try to bring together top experts in the field to select the best proposal. That's why we are targeting frontier research, groundbreaking, something that is innovative, something that is kind of a big leap forward in the state of the art. And this is what ERC is about. And as I told you, international peer review. So we have people from, so I was just in Consolidator Grants last week, and I had like 20 people coming from India, Australia, and obviously many from US and Canada and Europe, of course. All right, so if I try to develop a bit what the ERC grant is about then, the characteristic of the ERC grant. So as I said, it's completely bottom up. So it means that you can propose any topic and any methodology that you see fit. You will receive a grant for 5 years. And this is the principal investigator, so researcher who are in charge of the grant is linked to the researcher. So that is a guarantee of financial autonomy, and which make the researcher who are grantees, but maybe Professor Nguyen will say more about that. There's kind of a competition in host institution to get ERC grantee. So it makes you If you're already in an institution, normally it makes you the kind of a special treatment, or there's always other institutions who try to recruit you depending on the field. So for me, for instance, I'm in SH1 in economics, and I know that there's a special unit in Queen Mary or Cambridge to try to get more grantees in their field, which we don't like at ERC, because what we like is to have people from all over Europe. So we don't really like that, but it exists. What it means to have an ERC grant is also that you can build your own teams, because you will have enough fund to have postdoc or PhD or senior researcher with you. And what is good to know for you living outside Europe, for most of you, is that you can have additional funding to help you setting up in Europe. So that's also, so there's up to 1 million extra budget to help you set up your place. So for people like Prof Nguyen and myself in social science, we don't need so much funds, but you can imagine that people in life science or engineering, they may have to move some or build back some equipment. So that's why the maximum is up to 1 million. So this is very important information. The principal investigator, so what is written PIs, principal investigator, so the researcher can come from any part of the world and with any nationality. So this is, I think, maybe the key information of this presentation. We welcome anyone. What you need is to have an host institution, written here as HI. You need an host institution based in Europe with ready to welcome you if you have your grant. That's all you need. I mean, it's all you need in the administration side of things. Of course, you need to have a research project. Okay, so here are the different kind of grants. You have 3 grants, so starting grants, consolidator, and advanced grant, that are based on the seniority. So basically, how many years you got your PhD. Why is like that? Because, so I take again the example of SH1 economics. You don't want to have somebody who have a PhD in 5 years compete with the Nobel Prize. So the Nobel Prize normally will be in advanced grants. So it's after 12 years of after more than 12 years after the PhD, and the starting round will be for the people who just got their PhD from, so minimum 2 years until 7 years, and in between there's a consolidator grants, so between 7 to 12 years of PhD. So each one of those grants have different amount of money, 1.5 to 2.5 million, plus the additional funds that I was mentioning to set up from outside Europe. And all these grants are for 5 years. You may have an extension here and there depending on, I mean, it's not like 5 years like set and it's finished, but the standard duration is 5 years. Then you have 2 other grants. Synergy grant is a particular one, is targeting much more interdisciplinarity. So you have 2 to 4 researchers who are coming together from different fields, and they make a project together. So lately, like last month, I saw a project, for instance, for digital currencies, and there were like some computer scientists, some mathematicians, some economists, and some political scientists, just to give you an example. So this is a bigger grant. It's for 6 years and 10 million, because you expect people to travel more and be from all over the world. So that's why this grant is bigger. And then proof of concept is when you have a grant, an ERC grant, sometimes you may have an idea of a practical innovation on an application, and this proof of concept is to help you to actually make a start and propose something that could be on the market. So ERC is structured in 3 main domains: social science and humanities, life science, and engineering and physical science. And I am part of the social science and humanities, and each domain is divided in a panel. And for me, I'm in charge of the SH2 panel, so it's basically political science and law. And I'm also helping in SH1 panel, which is economics, finance, and management. So this is just a way to organize our work, because we receive proposals from any potential field. Many proposals are actually in between those panels, so don't see those panels as a guidance to applicants or priorities that we give to some field or topic. It's just a way to organize our work. and you can always when you apply to a particular panel, you can always say that, okay, I'm applying mostly in SH2, but I'm also interested in SH1, and I need expertise from SH3 anthropology. So it's not fixed. So there's a big rumor that says that, okay, you cannot go in SH1 because economists, they kill all the proposal about green growth, and you cannot go there. So we better go in SH8 or SH7 in environmental studies and so on. The truth is that the success rate is flat across all domain and across all panel, because we distribute the budget based on the number of applications. So we make sure that wherever the panel you go, you have the same success rate. So the only criterion, I said it at the start, is also one of the key message. We pay attention to gender balance, diversity, to many kind of topic. But when it comes to select the proposal, the best one, we just pay attention to excellence of the research project. So the methodology, is it groundbreaking? Is it like completely new, innovative? And then the excellence of the investigator, which means basically, are they able to deliver what they claim to be able to? Now I will come in a bit into detail, but I will go quickly on that, and just if you need more information, I can come back to it. So this is about, because I don't know how many potential applicants we have. So I will reserve these 2 slides for the question if need be, but what you have to retain at that point is that it's a 2-step evaluation. So at step 1, the panel members, so from 15 to 20 experts, they act as a generalist and they look at a synopsis, like a short version of the proposal. So there you really have to pay attention to convey, to defend, to sell your methodology in a way that people not from your field will understand, even though you will always have somebody close to your field, but not the 20 members of the panel will be close to your field. So at step 1, you need to convince that it's groundbreaking and it's promising, and then you go to step 2, and step 2 is like really like more on a sniper mode. We recruit many external experts exactly at the core of the proposal, and we have interviews. So that's how it's done. So you can see, so that's why part B1 and part B2 are different. Part B1 is only seen at step 1 panel meeting. So basically the panel member have access to all the B1 of every proposal. Then they meet in Brussels, they discuss, and they say, okay, which one we want to interview. They put a list, they go in step 2, and during step 1 panel meeting, they put together a list of external experts, like between 10 and 20 or 30. And then between step 1 and step 2, all these external reviewer will read part B2 proposal. And this is part of my job that is difficult to recruit all these experts to deliver their opinion. So again, this I will go quickly. I don't know if people are actually applying already or intend to apply already or already applied, but this is like just practical tips. I imagine maybe Professor Nguyen will come back also with our own experience. So what I would so there we have an inequality between host institutions, because you have host institutions who are like a factory of ERC grant, and they have like a big support team. And some host institutions do not have that. But as a researcher, I will still advise you to collaborate with other colleagues or other people from your field to discuss your ideas, and even to the point to make mock interviews or to read the proposals that you wrote. Because the best way to do is to have feedback from other scientists, because this is the way also we evaluate proposals. It's just scientists. So that would be my biggest advice. The only thing you need to apply from a host institution is like kind of a support letter saying that the institution, in case you get a grant, will be happy to welcome you. And this institution needs.
Benjamin, I think we lost you right now. Benjamin, are you still here? I think we have a little technical issue, but he might come back. Professor Minh, you are still with us, correct? Yes. Okay, the rest is still with us. Maybe we can use the time for our researchers, participants to reflect on what they heard so far. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat. I think otherwise we wait for a few minutes. I'm quite sure he will be back online soon. Exactly. Professor Nguyen Quoc Dinh from Penica University in Vietnam. He has already given his contact details. If you're looking for a partner from Vietnam, please contact me. This is probably more for project under the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions, not so much for the ERC. But thank you for taking the initiative, Professor Nguyen. Benjamin is back.
Yes, back.
Benjamin, we have you back. That's good.
Okay, sorry for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well, no problem.
So when did I lost you? Because I was speaking alone like this.
No. You can just go to your last slide.
All right. So this one, you mean? Okay, hang on. Okay. I have to start all over again. All right. Yes. This one. Was it that one? Can you see it?
Yes, yeah, this one, exactly.
Okay, so I was saying about the host institution. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so I think it cut when I was talking about the keep trying part. And I was giving this anecdote that I have a panel member in SH1, which is a Nobel Prize and in economics. And he was complaining that he didn't get his grant the first time and the second time, and he only got it the third time. So, but he kept on trying and he got it. So that's one example that you actually consistency and determination is the key. But on the other way around, I have also many examples of people from starting grant who got it the first time. So both is possible, but the thing is that you have to keep trying. And I was asking myself, seeing that Professor Nguyen was so successful to get many grants, I was wondering, but she will tell us probably later, if she got her 2 grants at the first attempt, or she needed to apply several times. All right, so waste a bit of time. So this is about just what is new in 24, 25, and 26. Maybe the main difference is that now we have a different way to go to step 2. Before we needed to have only like 3 times the number of proposals we could fund, but now we set a limit of 44 proposals because it's not feasible for us to have more than 44 interviews in 1 week. So the Scientific Council decided that that we could not go beyond 44 because just for fairness of the process. Also, what was new for us is that we have a new panel, SH8, which is actually anthropology and gender studies and other things, but that's a new feature also. So another thing that is quite new and important is that so before there was an equal weight given to the evaluation of the researcher and evaluation of the research project. And now the priority is given to the research project. So this is because there was a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking about how we could encourage people who are not into the normal system or who have an unconventional career path, or to encourage them to bring their innovative ideas. And that's how the Scientific Council came up with this idea that we will give more weight to the research project than the researcher profile. All right. So now I come to the last part of my presentation very quickly, but I think it's important because it's something that is not well known. And so we have ERC grant, of course, but we have other way also to cooperate with a researcher from outside EU. And this is what we call the implementing arrangements. So we have ERC signed many partnerships with different research organizations worldwide. And you can see here that from your zone, I mean, India is not in your zone, but there is one in India, Singapore, and Thailand for now. And there's some negotiation going on with other countries, but I cannot tell you which one will be next. But so you can see, for instance, Thailand, that is close to my heart because I live there 5 years. So you have like the Research and Innovation of Thailand organization that is part of this agreement, and basically the Ministry of Higher Education and Research that is behind all this. Okay, so what does it mean? So what can it what is it in for you? Basically, the implementation agreement, it means that what you can do is to integrate an ERC team. So basically, I mean, I don't want to point at the Professor Nguyen, but it means that imagine Professor Nguyen, she has a research team in our host institution, and maybe she could open one position for one particular expertise, and this would be open to people from those countries who have a partnership. So what you need to do, ERC doesn't take care of the selection. It's really something about in between researcher and researcher. So you have to apply in your funding agency. The funding agency will put together a list, and then you can actually contact investigator grantees in Europe. And then your visit in Europe would have to take time during the time of the grant, because this is part of the budget of the grant of the ERC grants. So if there's more questions, I can also come back to it, because I see that I was almost too long. And I want to finish just with this key information, let's say, that I said, probably some of it already, but I want to make sure that this message goes through. So we try to have a flat success rate by distributing the budget across the panel based on the demand, based on the number of applications. This is really important to make people understand that there's no strategic choice to go to this panel or this panel, but you can apply to really the one that is close to your expertise. We have no priority. We don't give any priority, any theme. COVID used to be very hot topic. Now it's artificial intelligence. I mean, whatever topic you want to pursue, this is your choice. And what we will look at ERC is whether it's excellent, groundbreaking, and we don't point in any direction. A common idea that I saw very often and I hear very often, oh yeah, but especially in economics, I didn't publish in top 5 journal outlets, and therefore I cannot apply to ERC. This is not taken into account. We do look at papers, but we look at the content. We don't look where it's published. So indeed, your scientific productivity, your output is looked at with very carefully. We look at what was your finding for your previous projects and work. So this is true, but where you publish, it doesn't matter to us. And again, OSIS institution is not an evaluation criterion. We just look at excellence. So you may have a letter of support from, I don't know where. I'm from Paris, so I would say from Sciences Po. You can have or from Oxford or whatever. It doesn't matter. What you need is to just have an OSIS institution, and if it's prestigious or if it's just a regional one, it doesn't matter at all. And with this, I think I can stop talking. So here you will see, if you want to apply, there's some video made by my colleagues that is kind of a tutorial quickly on YouTube. So you can look at that, and this is where you can find more practical tips. And that's it. Thank you for your attention, and the floor is back to you.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for this presentation, and I think for paving the way for the first questions as well, because there are a few technical questions here. Otherwise, I think it was very clear, very well structured. So I noted down there are a few from the chat. Of course, Tatas and I have also prepared some questions. I guess you can answer them quite quickly from the chat. So first of all, I think we have a number of PhD students as well here on board. I think they're already excited. They're planning their future career. First question, are these grants available for PhD students, and can only PhD holders, are only PhD holders eligible for every type of the grant? That's question number one.
Very good question. So PhD student cannot apply to ERC. I mean, well, they could, but yeah, they could, but it's difficult. So, okay, let me go back by the start. So basically, what you need to apply for starting grant is to be 2 years after your PhD. Why we waited 2 years? Because we wanted to give time to PhDs to publish some papers and demonstrate some work outside their PhD. So that's why it starts 2 years after the PhD. I know there's working going on right now to kind of change this rule, but I cannot tell you anything because it's not official, or it's not even decided completely yet. But I know this will be revamped soon. Even the difference between starting grant and consolidator grant will be a bit changed, and I think the 2 years also will be changed. But for now, this is what is on the table. So basically, no, you cannot apply to a starting grant if you don't have a PhD. I was thinking alone because there's actually an exception. People without PhDs, they can actually apply to advanced grants. And but I will tell you why. It's not to encourage PhD students. It's because when ERC was created, and even today, I mean, in some countries, like in Italy, you have many emeritus professor, very famous professor in some field who don't have a PhD. And that's why, for instance, in law, you can well be, like a judge in a Supreme Court, or a very famous lawyer that wrote about doctrina and move forward the state of the art in, I don't know, administrative law. And then you are a researcher and you are actually teaching at university, but you don't have a PhD. So those people were allowed to apply to advanced grants without a PhD. And I saw actually one PhD student of one panel chair with me in SH2. Actually, so the panel chair saw his PhD student applying to the grant he was. So it was also funny. So it does happen, but I would say that if you are a PhD student, my advice would be more to actually find a grantee who is recruiting for a PhD position. And there you will have much more chance. So then your PhD will be covered by the grant. You may have a chance to become a postdoc, easier. I think more you increase your probability to get a position. And then if you are already part of a ERC team with a grantee, so you know how it works, you know how from the proposal to the actual implementation of the proposal, you know how it works, and then you are more skilled and you have more tools to actually do your own grant when the time comes. To give 1.5 million for 5 years to a PhD student is really too much. I think it's really, really big. But I like the ambition and the enthusiasm. That's very much welcome. Did I answer your question, Leonie? Because there was two, I think.
No, yeah, that was no. This answers the question, and from our side as well, we like the ambition. Reading about the ambition of current PhD students here, and maybe Professor Minh had in the past also parked under the ERC grant one of such students. I think Tatas has a few questions as well from the chat. Tatas, after you, I will come with further questions.
Yes, thank you. So I have questions from the chat. It is related to the bilateral cooperation. So whether to choose how to choose the home institutions and host institution within these 5 years. Maybe if you like to, is there any possibility to have like kind of bilateral cooperations from two countries like that?
Okay, all right. So the host institution, again, there's no criterion or I mean, it's not a selection criterion for us. So it means that for you, I mean, it's completely open. So I would say that this is the most easier. I mean, what I see from my experience is that mainly what happened for people outside EU, they already collaborate with some researcher inside Europe, And therefore, they use this network to actually ask a support letter from an host institution. That's the most common way I see things done. So based on current cooperation, and then through this network and asking to have this letter. Then for the second part of the question, yes, there can be. I mean, I'm not sure I understood correctly, but there's a possibility in your ERC grant to add some beneficiaries. So you will have a host institution who are actually hosting the grant, but then you can add a beneficiary, a partner organization that receive part of the grant to help to facilitate the implementation of the work. I'll give you an example concrete. So I was following up a project in investigating universal income in India and in Africa, and in several countries in Africa and in India. And so the grant is based in UK, but then there's 3 beneficiary institutions. So I think it's in Tanzania, and Ethiopia, and India. And why they did that? Because for this project, so there are 3 random control trials in those countries, and they have partnership with local institutions to help to implement those random control trials. And there's actually a postdoc in each of these countries who is actually managing the experiment. So this is one example, but yes, it's possible to, if I understood well the question, it's possible to have some partnership or cooperation with other organizations.
Thank you, Benjamin. And also there is one question related to responsibilities when you receive this grant. Artists also have this responsibility for like tenure staff with teaching and research responsibilities.
Okay. So yes, I didn't went to that level of detail indeed. So if you look at the different type of grant, you have different level of commitment, time commitment. So if you apply for a starting grant, you need to commit at least 60% of your time on your project. If it's a consolidator grant, it's 55%, and if it's advanced grant, it's 50% of the time. So basically what happened? What happened when you are you get a grant and you go in your host institution? So some institution is only about research. So the researcher, if he got a starting grant, he will have 40% of his time or her time on other research project and 60% on the ERC project. Some institutions, like many in France, for instance, they need to both teach and research. So then, if you have an ERC grant, the host institution takes the commitment, have the obligation, the legal obligation to free 60% of your time minimum for you to do your research on your grant. And this can be very much up to 100%. I mean, it's possible. So yeah, so this is how it works. So you have a minimum and then go up to 100%. And then this is also it's also a negotiation with those institutions depending on the nature of the institution.
Thank you. Leonie?
I have a few yes and no questions here for Benjamin. First,
I like that.
Yes or no? Any age restriction when it comes to the applicant?
No.
Good. Then, is there a template for the proposal?
Not really. There's some examples there, yes.
Okay. There are some examples, and the examples are available
on the website, yes. ERC
on
website.
the website. Okay, good. Then, yes or no, does the research have to be related to the EU, or does it have to benefit the EU? We know under Horizon Europe, its focus is also on the EU's competitiveness. Or can the thematic scope be linked to anything in the world?
No, any topic.
Any topic. Okay, also yes and no. Then, very short answer. How do you calculate the time when it comes to the PhD? Is it at the date of defense, or is it the date of the PhD certificate?
Defense.
Then the next question, can applicants from private institutions also apply or deemed university? Yes. This is not a yes or no, but can be answered very briefly. To what extent does selective journal publication influence the eligibility of a research project proposal?
It doesn't affect it, because you talk about eligibility. So there's no eligibility there. You can, there's nothing. So no. Then how it influences actually the outcome of the selection, this is very complicated to tell. So I don't know. It depends. There are so many different kind of situations, so it depends.
Okay.
But eligibility is no.
Okay, thank you. So then I would suggest, Tatas and I, we will look again into the questions and what has not been responded so far. But at this point, I think it might be good to have Professor Minh coming on board now and sharing her experiences, because some of the questions might be answered actually by her when she's sharing her career pathway and how she has been successful in securing 2 grants. Congratulations again, Professor Minh.
Thank you.
Is the third one in preparation? Busy with the current one. Okay, we hand over to you. Thank you.
So yeah, hello everyone. Just let me get the okay. So thank you very much for this invitation. I do not normally have such a big audience, so I'm a bit nervous now. So I'm just very happy to share some of my personal experiences with the applications and a little bit about the implementations of the projects. Now, I should first say that I dare not claim to have any secrets or any kind of recipe for success. I guess I have just been doing the usual things that most of us do as researchers, namely going about doing the things that we care about and trying different things out, constantly struggling to meet expectations from all sides, and most often, more often than not, dealing with rejections and criticism. So yeah, all the sort of things that we all have to confront it, and only once in a while you find the kind of support that that kind of encourage what we do. And obviously the ERC, the European Research Council's grant schemes are really one of those sources of inspiration and encouragement. Now, so a bit about me. I came to research much later in my life. I started a PhD at 31 after a few years processing the experience of immigration to Germany and the difficulty of finding a job as an immigrant in this country in the 2000s, early 2000s. Now, but then I went to do a PhD in the UK in 2011. And after that, I was offered a postdoc position at the Max Planck Institute for Social Anthropology in Halle, in Germany. Now, I think I count myself as a very lucky person to have had this time at the Max Planck Institute with a 5-year contract, just doing research, and plus a little bit more than a year of non-contractual time with access to the facilities of the institute. So this time at the Max Planck Institute was really a stepping stone for me in terms of developing my research agenda and networks, including the unemployed time, right? So during this time, I finished my second monograph and also prepared the first starting grant applications. So as I said, I was unemployed for a year after the postdoc contract, until I got the appointment in Bielefeld in early 2018. So that was when I put together this starting grant application. It was rejected the first time, but I could qualify for reapplication the next year. So I revised it and resubmitted it. The application was approved later in 2018. So that was after I had started my professorship in Bielefeld. So maybe this is the first slide of my 5-minute presentation to the Commission in the much feared panel interview. But basically, this is this is a project. I'll show you the website of the project later. It is a project that looks at the moral politics around the provision of welfare for migrant workers who were employed at global factories in China and Vietnam. Yeah. Okay, so that was the starting grant. And now, so this is the grant that I have just got approved last December. Again, the first slide of of the presentation for the ERC. I had started working on it already at the beginning of 2023, but perhaps already a bit earlier, and submitted by the end of 2023. And for this application, it was a bit I was a bit more, a bit more on firmer ground in terms of really the direction of what I want, where I was going. So I had been very inspired by the idea of this application, which basically looks at the role of financialized risk in the lives of the same people I had been working with in the starting grant project, namely factory workers. Yeah. I worked through many rounds of revisions with excellent feedback from colleagues. And this time I had really had access to a very, very good network of colleagues who could provide very good feedback on conceptual and empirical feedback on the proposal. So I had a very good feeling about this application by the time I submitted it. But when the approval came in December, it felt a bit unreal, right? Because the first time you got it was really amazing, and then the second time it's just it just feels unreal. So it is just in the prospect of having another 5 good years to devote to a topic that I care a lot about. So namely the financialization processes that are taking places in this so-called context of market socialist economies of China, Vietnam, and Laos. Maybe just I do not have a lot of time, so maybe I just go a little bit in some of my what I thought were important during the process of applying for this, of course, with the benefit of hindsight. Perhaps I had not been so clear about it at the time I applied. So I think that what's important is that before applying, I think this issue came up in the discussion earlier from people who are doing PhD. I think that there is a reason that the ERC asked you to wait a little bit with putting in the first application, because the starting grant is practically about a grant that allows you to lead a team of researchers, right? So it requires a little bit more experiences, not just in terms of doing research, but also in terms of leadership, in terms of management, and networking, and so on and so forth. So before starting the application, I think that it's important to work on the profile, and this profile should have clear focuses and goals in terms of it should show that there's a running thread through your profile that shows that this is the person who's devoted to this particular area of work, and they care about it, and they have the potential to develop it further, right? So the proposed project should actually bring this own research agenda forward, And so also during this time after the PhD, it's important to work on a few indications of excellence. Of course, Benjamin had said that the publications are not decisive, but I think they are still important. it is a marker of excellence. And if you look at the reviewers' report that came back, they often comment on, oh, this person, has published in a top journal, and she has, done the book with a prestigious publisher. So yeah, I think, of course, publication are not always that matter, but it is one of those things that you need to work on. And then also other things that I think Benjamin already pointed out. Now, I think the professional networks is very important, because when it comes to getting feedback on your applications or finding host institutions, it is important to have these professional networks, in the sense of that you position yourself in a network and getting yourself known, as somebody who's good at something, because host institutions do not just take anyone who comes. Hey, oh, I want to apply for an ERC. Can you host me? Because the hosting, even for the hosting institution, even taking on an application is a lot of work. It's a lot of work for the administration. So they're also very selective in terms of whether this person has the potential to get the grant, but also whether this person fits into the research direction of the university. So yeah, so I think this is very important after the PhD. This is for the people who are applying to a starting grant, right? To start building the professional network is very important. Now, the second thing is that some people might think that it is just an application. You do so many applications in your life, maybe I could just do it in a few weeks, but I don't think that works, at least from my side, although timing is very important, timing. So this is for the especially for the starting and the consolidated grant. The timing for the starting grant is 2 to 7 years after the PhDs, and you get some extension if you have children. So I think 6. I don't remember how much, but I think one child, 18 months for one child, extra time. So, but anyway, I think, because rejections are so common, it's important to time the first application in a way that if you're rejected, you can apply again before your time runs out. So that is important. Otherwise, you may waste the effort a little bit. As I said, take time to develop an application. For me, for the starting grant, I must have spent a year on developing the grant. And then in the second round, I also got a lot of feedbacks and so on and so forth, right? And for the consolidated grant, I actually had started a year starting thinking about the idea. So I had this idea that I thought this is really important about a topic that is really important to look into, given the observations that I was making in Vietnam and China at the time. And I thought this is something that is really important. It has the potential for developing a research project, right? So I spent a year looking into the literature. I also taught a class, an MA class, on the topic, in order to get used to the literature. And then I also, after the first draft was completed, I also got my colleagues to read it many times. I also workshop it, So this application needs to have a convincing state-of-the-art and a very ambitious research question. A research question that I would say that is ambitious enough for a team to work on, and not just an individual research project, right? So this need to be convincing in terms of the scope, and in terms of the state of the art that you're doing. It has to be convincing, and also you have to communicate that you are excited about it, you're passionate about it, right? Because it comes through. People in the review panel, that your proposal will be assessed at the stage where you get into the second stage. They are all leading scholars in the field. Yeah, it's an interdisciplinary panel, but the reviewers that the proposals are sent out are all often quite known researchers, and they expect to engage with somebody who's ambitious, who's passionate about what they do, and who has the potential to carry forward at least a subfield of research, right? And so in this, that's why it's important also to have a very rigorous conceptual work done, and the research design also needs to be convincing and coherent with the kind of research question, right? So I don't need to talk about that. Now Benjamin talked about the two versions. So basically, there are two versions of the application. And this sometimes kind of makes people worried, but I don't think it's such a big deal, but you need to get it right. So the B1, the B1 is basically a 5-page synopsis of your project, and the B2 is a 15-page, so the elaborate proposal, right? And the B1 is only read by the panel to which you submit the proposal to, so that they can make a decision whether they will send it out for review, right? And the reviewers then will read both the B1 and B2. Now, so what I did is that I wrote the B2 first, the long proposal first, and then for the B1 I will then sit and with just recap the proposal into the synopsis, and so they should capture the main ideas, but they should not be this kind of the same text copied and pasted from the B2. Yeah, and as I said, it's important to get feedback, workshop it, present it, and get people to read it. But of course, the right people, and not just anyone. Now, also Benjamin said I think there's this point about the ERC interview. The ERC interview, I think there's a mythos about it. Everyone is scared of it, right? So even the people, very leading scholars in the field, I know, when they get invited to an interview, then they are so nervous. But of course, I was also nervous, right? Because all this mythos about, oh, this is very scary, and it's a make and break experience and so on. So actually, there's also a whole industry springing up around this, right? So there are consultants offering workshops, how to optimize your presentation, and how to do this interview well, and so on. But I think that you need to take it seriously and practice it well. But there's no need to be too intimidated for it, and there's no need to pay 1,000 euro for coaching in order to get to do the interview. Okay, so another thing is that critique colleagues go use them well. Rejection is not the end of the world. Resubmit it, but take on the critiques. And review a report seriously. Yeah, so I move on to quickly to the project that I have done, the starting grant project, which finished last year. So maybe I would just show you quickly so this is you see this the website now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we still see your PPT, Professor Minh.
Also, I need to reshare that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop sharing and then go into the.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So this is the website of the starting grant project which is now finished. So you could see that here, if you look at the output, you could see that we have a very dense publication program. Yeah. And we also did a policy brief series that looked at the policy background of the project. And we also did, I don't know, this is just some selected events that we organized in the past year, but we have a really long catalog of events and conferences and workshops that we organized during this 5 years. You could see that there is the possibility to do all these nice things, right, as part of the ERC grants. And yeah, so yeah, in terms of public, we also we have this other activities. Yeah, okay, so I come back to the slide. Sorry, I'm not so quick with this. Yeah, so now, excuse me. So some reflections on this implementing this research project. It was really a challenging exercise in project management and leadership, right? Because in order to get the grant, you need to put in a very ambitious work program, but by doing that, you also create a lot of work for yourself, right? Oh, in terms of empirical research, in terms of publication, events, and communication, you could see the things that I've just pointed out. And then you need to negotiate, or you need to be very familiar with the bureaucratic requirements of the ERC, of your own institution. Your own institution is also regulated by by the law here, and also of the fieldwork country. And there's also this increasing significance of dealing with the challenging and complex requirements of research ethics in this changing world. What we try to do was with this project is that we placed a lot of emphasis on long-term planning, rigorous planning, review, and plan again, and so on and so forth. And this research project, we also had the problem of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So there was a lot of hiccup in terms of field work implementation and so on. But we could still carry out the project, and in the end I think it was completed successfully because we had really good teamwork, right? I think that is something that I'm really proud about, that the team worked together really well. And I myself, I couldn't have done this project on my own. It was a result of a very dedicated work of a whole team of success of three postdocs and two PhD students. But that with all that challenges, I think that this is a wonderful opportunity because it gave me time and space to develop my own research program, to lead a team, to build my international network, and also to establish myself as a scholar. So this is, as you can see, the work program allows for both autonomy and also gives a lot of opportunities for connecting with the broader scholarly community, not just within my own discipline, but with neighboring disciplines as well. And what I really appreciate is the ERC's emphasis on what Benjamin calls frontier research. It's also called fundamental research, or some other people call it basic research, right? So research is kind of driven by curiosity and less so by immediate impact, right? So less so about the immediate value for money that we see in a lot of funding scheme nowadays. So this emphasis really allows the freedom to explore and deepen your scientific work, right? So with that, it's really, it does a lot in terms of broadening one's intellectual horizon, fostering creativity, and also, it encourages boundary crossing, right? So you actually, sometimes you take a bit, you can take more risk in terms of, thinking about when you think about challenging projects or ideas, and you can still go ahead and do it because this format of research funding allows for it, right? So if I would say what I have gained from the experiences of leading this project, I think that it has done a lot to my personal growth as a scholar, to my scholarship, but also to the building of my research group, but also my department, right? So I think it's worth it to apply for this, to make the effort to apply to this wonderful program. And I also think that the ERC has done such a good job in making this program into, one of the marker of excellence for science in Europe. And well done to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Minh. That was a lovely presentation and insights. Actually, we had the pleasure to welcome Professor Maria Leptin in Singapore in February, and she, the topic on the panel discussion which took place at NUS was on the role and the importance of frontier research. And all the panelists agreed on one thing, which you also highlighted, that what you really need as a researcher and also to apply for this grant is resilience. Definitely your frustration tolerance must be also high because you get a lot of feedback along the way. But as you rightly pointed out, at the end, it is a wonderful program. It gives you the financial autonomy which you require to really focus on your research. It gives you all the connections. You also highlighted how the institution has benefited from it. So yeah, there was, I think, definitely an encouragement with all the resilience needed along the way. We have some questions, I think, which are relevant for Professor Minh, and then some for Benjamin, who in the meantime also went again through the Q&A sections. I think Dr. Sundaresan Subramani, thank you so much. We have a very active participant here, a lot of technical questions. We might not be able to address all of them because they're very specific. But I would like to start with one question from Clarissa Lee, which I found was quite interesting. She says, if you are near the tail end for one grant phase, for example, the consolidator phase, consolidator grant, and you fail to get the grant, but you are resilient, you will apply again. So what is the best approach now? What is the best approach to repurposing for the next level, like the advanced grant? Would you then apply again for a consolidator grant or wait again and look then for an advanced grant? What is your thought? What are your thoughts on this, Professor Minh?
Actually, for me, there was not much of a choice. It was the last year in which I could apply for the consolidator grant. So if I didn't get it, then I'm out. Okay. Then I have to think about, I don't know, maybe I would have to put it into the advanced grant scheme.
Okay. Thank you. Benjamin, a few technical questions. We can still answer.
Sorry, yes. Leonie, but may I jump in on the previous question, if you don't mind?
Please.
Yeah, so I understand this can be intimidating when you are at the end of a consolidated grant to go to advanced grant, but if you look at the statistics and success rate of applicants based on the number of years of PhD, I mean, actually, you have still a good chance on the statistics to succeed, even though if you just move from consolidator to advanced. So that's obviously it's intimidating, but it doesn't mean that you will not get the grant. I saw that many times. So that's one. Two, a strategy how to repurpose the grant, I think is very difficult to answer. And that's why, I mean, I'm embarrassed. And I think Professor Nguyen is embarrassed too, because it depends very much on the proposal. It depends very much on the feedback you receive from the panel comments, because, when you actually apply and you are rejected or not, you receive all the individual review from all the experts who read your proposal, and you receive a panel comment which actually summarize the discussion within the panel of all the experts reading the proposal, reading the expert review, and deciding. And there, normally, if you don't get it and you are at the end of the tail, I mean, you have a precise idea of the weaknesses of your proposal, and probably so it gives you inspiration on the way to improve it. So I would say that pay attention to the panel comments, but most importantly, pay attention to your own research ambition and try to go out there, talk with colleagues, or to improve your proposal, think yourself. And again, most of people who get a grant, they need several attempts. So yeah.
Thank you, Benjamin. So a few yes and no or very short answer questions. What about the use of AI? Can it be used in a proposal for fine-tuning? Language matters. How or what else? For what else can it be used?
So it's a long debate in ERC. So if the question is yes or no, it's a yes. We just advised people to say that they are using AI and for what? For transparency. But it's not even a legal obligation. So AI are a tool, like people use, people use, I mean, there's tool available, there's many tools available. So you can use that. I would not advise to make the full proposal written by AI. I would not advise because I think it's not of high quality yet. It's not there yet. I would not advise because it's less personal, so it's maybe more difficult to defend in an interview. And also we have tools to detect such use. So I mean, I would advise to say transparently.
Thank you. Is there any limit on manpower or equipment cost?
It just depends on the full budget. I mean, you have a ceiling for the whole budget. So starting grant is 1.5, Consolidator is 2.2 million, and advance is 2.5 million. And within that, you can see, or you have full flexibility. So if you want to have only equipment, you can. If you want to have only manpower, you can. If you want to just pay your own salary 100%, you can. And if you want to a little bit of all of that, you can also.
Okay, that really allows for a lot of flexibility. That is excellent. For those who have been rejected, we know that under the MSCA there's a seal of excellence, which then researchers can use and apply for other grants. And this seal of excellence is very much worth in the academic world. Is there something similar for the ERC?
The ERC doesn't do that, but I know that many individual countries or host institutions are doing that. So, for instance, I know in Belgium, so all people who got to step 2, they get kind of a grant to help them to actually run their research agenda in a small scale, but in view of reapplying and getting the grant the time after. And I know in Netherlands, some host institutions are doing that too. I know in UK there's also kind of similar. So it's coming, but from the member state or institution, not from ERC.
Thank you. I have a question also to Professor Minh. I understood that you have been already in Germany when applying for your first starting grant. So what is your recommendation for those researchers who are still based in Southeast Asia? What comes first, the host institution or the research grant, or the research proposal? How does it also, I wouldn't say influence each other, but maybe inspire each other? Because I understand you were already at the University of Bielefeld before you took that step to apply. Maybe you can share a little bit about this.
Yeah, actually, I started applying when I was, as I said, I was unemployed, right? So it was after the time when working at the Max Planck Institute for Social Anthropology. So I actually put the application through my former institution, and and that application didn't pan out. So when I got the appointment in Bielefeld, then it was just natural that I applied through. I put the application through Bielefeld University, but at the point of starting the application, I had not been appointed yet. I was informed that I would be appointed, but But yeah, so the grant application can be relatively flexible for institutions if they, if you have colleagues who support you and who believe in you and yeah, who are ready to host, then it's a matter of the institution issuing this hosting letter and say, if this person wins a grant, we will host them and will provide the conditions for them to work. But as I said, institutions would not just take on any application just because it's directed at the ERC. So I would, if you don't know the people, I would still perhaps do a lot of research about the institution through which you are applying to see if you can make connection to their research program, yeah, or if you can make connection to particular colleagues there, and then present yourself to them with your proposal. I think that is how it should go. At Bielefeld University, we even have a program that supports people to come to Bielefeld for 18 months to develop their starting grant applications. And the researchers can get 18 months of employment with the university. And during this time, they can develop this starting grant application. So universities also, actively recruit applicants like that. And I'm sure that Bielefeld is not the only university that does that. So yeah, you can also look for this kind of opportunity or just approach people, approach institutions. But again, to have professional networks that, in which you can situate yourself and make yourself known, it is important, I'd say, especially for starting grant applicants.
Thank you. There was almost telepathy, Professor Minh, because June Ohata, she asked a question here. Who can we contact if we have any questions? Can you provide emails and point of contact people? So your hint that Bielefeld University invites also researchers for that period of time to prepare, that was extremely suitable now what June was asking just in the moment. Benjamin, there are a few more questions in the chat. Have you picked a few which you would like to respond to? Otherwise, Tatas probably is also screening through it.
I have a couple. I mean, I have probably too many that we have time to answer to, but
we still have 13 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just out of curiosity, can I just ask Professor Nguyen in which panel she submitted? I imagine SH3.
For the starting grant, I put it through SH3. But for the consolidator, I did the same, and then I was moved to SHH.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Makes sense, because actually with your topic you could also be in SH2 or SH1 basically. But yeah, they move. They just move a proposal based on the expertise available in the panel. So that's why. Okay, sorry, that was just my personal curiosity. Okay, so I think there's some quick questions I can answer that are practical. So first is, do you need to be based in EU? It's true that I didn't put that in my presentation, I forgot probably, but one of the conditions of ERC grant is you have to spend at least 50% of the time in EU. So the question was the other way around. Can I be based in Indonesia or somewhere and still have an ERC grant? Yes, but you will have to spend 50% of your time in Europe at least, and then you can come back to your country or another one to teach or do whatever you have to do. So that's a one. Another question was about the duration. Can it be shorter than 5 years? Yes, it's possible. I saw some proposal only 3 years long that was selected. So it's not the norm. It's very rare, but it does happen and it's possible to do. The thing is that if you have a shorter grant, I mean a proposal, it may indicate less ambition, because in 3 years you can do less than in 5. So that's I would say the limitation, but legally speaking, there's no limitation. Can you have collaborators from other scientific departments? Yes, this is very much encouraged. So if I look at the proposal or the project of Professor Nguyen, I mean, she may have obviously people from a sociology department, anthropology, but you could make use of some economists there and political scientists, globalization studies. I mean, there's many different kind of potential cooperation, and we welcome interdisciplinarity. There was one important question I say about ethics. So indeed, there's a lot of ethics requirements, but it's not my job. We have a separate process to evaluate ethics issues, and so there's a panel with experts from all over the world, like the way we work, but only for ethics. And these people analyze the proposal, and then if they are selected, so when my job finished and we selected proposal, then they go to the ethics, and then there's a back and forth process that they discuss the requirement and how to make things go smoothly, and with many different kind of requirements. So in the chat there was like a ethics board. It's a common requirement for some proposal on the animals experimentation and so on. And there was one or two questions on selection criteria. So how do you judge the excellence of a scientific project? That's a tough question because you have between 15 to 20 people discussing, not from the same field, not with the same sensitivity, subjectivity. So there's not like precise grid of evaluation, but what I would say is like basically the groundbreaking nature. So how far you advance the state of the art, how much innovative is, all the methods are used, are they top of the art or is it just something that is just done since decades, but maybe it's done since decades, but with a very large scope. So there's also maybe, let's say, the feasibility. This is sometimes a concern because we ask high risk proposal, but we don't want just something is high risk with no thinking about how much feasible it is. So that would be also something important. And sometimes we have this coming up that there's a very interesting proposal, but with a very narrow scope. And then there's all this question about external validity. So how much you can generalize from that finding. So that would be also something. And then if I come back to the publication, so indeed, if you write in top 5, I think it's very good for you. I have nothing against. I was just saying that if you don't, it's not a limitation for you to apply. This is what I wanted to emphasize. But of course, if you have like top tier publication and you are quoted crazy all over the world, this of course helps. But if you have also a small paper that is really innovative and is not published very well, or it just went out, or it's maybe just a working paper, this is still taken into consideration. So that I wanted to highlight. I'm sorry, I talk very fast, but I try to cover many questions. There was also a question about host institution, whether it must be in Europe. Yes, it must be the host institution must be in Europe or in partner countries, which there are several, mainly in Europe, but not only. You have many different kind of partner countries. So I don't know, in Bosnia, Armenia, Iceland, Israel, Norway, Tunisia, Turkey, Ukraine. I mean, you have many different kinds. And I think that's about it, what I can answer quickly.
Thank you, Benjamin. I have one last question. Well, first of all, I would like to highlight that we had in total 44 questions just in our Q&A section, and there were more in the chat. And I hope that we responded to many of them. It's also nice to see, I'm not sure if the participants have monitored that, but we had over 230 participants in this webinar at some point. So thank you so much for your interest. But my question now is 44 questions. We probably have answered quite a lot, but is there a guidebook? Is there an FAQ section as well, especially for the lot of technical questions which came up here? Benjamin, if there is, if you can put the link in the chat, that would be fantastic.
Okay, indeed. I will have to search for it, but there's indeed on the ERC website, there's a part with FAQ. I'm not sure it's really completely up to date because every year we change few things, but you can find many information. But what I can do is to put my email actually in the chat. I hope I will not be submerged by hundreds of messages, but I will put my email, and then people can direct me question, and then I can redirect to them. So to all, I cannot actually. So
we can otherwise. I have put here to ensure we are a little bit the gatekeepers before Benjamin. We have put our contact details here. We are available on LinkedIn and X, Facebook and Instagram. You can also reach us through ASEAN@EURAXESS.net. So you can first address the questions to us. We will follow up with all of you with the recording. As well as the slides. So maybe some questions will also be answered again through that. We will include in the email, in the follow-up email, a link to the guidebook and the FAQ section. So hopefully we can address all your concerns with this. We are at the end of this webinar. I would like, together with Tatas, thank Professor Minh and Benjamin very much for your time. It was wonderful to meet you first time, actually also for both Benjamin and Professor Minh. It will hopefully not be the last time. Maybe at some point in the ASEAN region, especially Professor Minh, if you come, we always like to engage grantees in our info sessions live and online. And yeah, to our participants, thank you for your strong interest. We keep fingers crossed for you in case you should apply, whichever grant it will be, and if we can be of any service and support, you have us here. You have Professor Minh and Benjamin, who will be helping and giving you further advice. With this, we close for today and wish you a good week ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye bye.